So TCU was a 7.5, 8-point underdog in that game, depending on, I guess, what bookie you looked at, but even bigger underdog to Georgia, 13 points. Now Georgia has obviously lived up to that number one seed, number one ranking most of the year. They're undefeated. Bulldogs have really next level speed. I mean, at a lot of different positions. And of course, 4 and 5 star guys up and down the roster. So, what do you feel like the roadmap is to a TCU upset?
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I mean, Ohio State was able to throw the ball on them, which kind of surprised me. And so I think if TCU can protect, which is a tall task, because Jalen Carter, their DT in the inside, I mean, he's going to be probably like a top 5 draft pick in this upcoming draft. But if TCU's offensive line, which has done pretty well this year, if they can give Max time, then I really think that they can score on Georgia at different points in the game. Now, Kendre Miller, their running back, is banged up, and so that's something to watch. They do have a pretty good backup in Amari DiMercato, but Ohio State didn't even really try to run the ball. I mean, it was funny. They just sort of went out there and said, we're not going to even mess with that. And so I'm curious to see what Sonny Dykes and Garrett Riley do. But I think there is some potential for them to put up some big plays on offense. Defensively, the player that scares me the most, because I just don't know if they have anybody who can cover him, is Brock Bowers, their tight end for Georgia. They have another guy, Darnell Washington, who is banged up, but they like to throw the ball over the middle of the field. And, their corners, I know, Brice, you had a good story about Trey Hodges, who is from the Midway area earlier this year. And he won the Thorpe Award. I mean, he's been great on the outside. They have another guy, Josh Newton, who was held up. And so I believe those guys can play coverage. I just don't know who they send out there to cover those tight ends over the middle, because honestly, like, the Big 12 just doesn't have a lot of guys in that mold that they throw to. The closest might be what Baylor did with Sims, and he had a pretty good game against TCU. So I think that's kind of the biggest matchup. And then Stetson Bennett, I mean, he threw a couple interceptions in that semifinal game, and I feel like you have to find a way to force some turnovers. I know that's not typically what he does, but if maybe they can confuse him or get a bounce and turn the ball over a couple times, and that evens the playing field a lot for TCU.
Good stuff. What do you say, John?
Yeah, I agree with Stephen. It's going to be really hard to run the ball on those guys. They're so big and physical and fast. I think a lot is going to be on Max Duggan's shoulders, as usual, and he usually comes through too. Offensively for Georgia, to me, they don't blow me away offensively. I've been looking at some of their numbers here, and I mean, Stetson Bennett's obviously a very good quarterback, but TCU's played better quarterbacks in my mind. And rushing, it's kind of by committee, but yeah, it's just Georgia's defense. They're so big and physical. I remember when Baylor played them in 2019 Sugar Bowl, man, I was just shocked just how they just kind of manhandled Baylor up front. And yeah, I think it's I think they got a similar kind of defense now. But yeah, Duggan's going to have a great day, and TCU's defense has to force some turnovers.
Your phone started ringing as soon as you started talking about Georgia's offense. Maybe that was Kirby Smart calling in.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
He's like, I dispute that. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think that's some great analysis. Back to Trey Hodges for a second. Trevius Hodges Tomlinson, if we're gonna say the man's full name, as he added that late in his high school career. But I think he has helped himself this year a lot. I think he made himself some money. He's not a very big guy, but man, his instincts are incredible. He's just a great cover guy. And I think, low key physical, right? I mean, maybe not even low key.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely his game, and he gets a couple pass interference penalties. He got some in that semifinal game, but you sort of just live with that because he's not. I mean, he just doesn't give up big plays. So
Yeah.
there's going to be the occasional flag, but he just likes to get up into receivers and press, and he excels at it.
Yeah, no doubt. And so I do feel like your point about turnovers will be huge. I mean, they're big in any football game. We know that. But, if TCU is able to get an interception or a pick six or whatever, or multiple turnovers, takeaways, I mean, that's going to be, to me, the key for TCU is and also much like that semifinal game, starting fast and just showing Georgia, look, we're in it, we're here to play, I think that will be a big deal because, you don't want to fall behind, 14, 21 points. And then, that sort of doubt starts creeping in and everything. So it should be a fun game. And obviously a lot of eyeballs will be tuned to it, including the 6 of ours.